Hey, Facebook Nation. This is your girl, Jamaican Joan, with panel 2 of the 12th Annual Women's Entrepreneur Expo. But please don't go anywhere because we are going to be right back. Welcome back to the 12th Annual Women's Entrepreneur Expo, Panel 2. So far, we've had Panel 1, we had a cooking demo, and now we're up to Panel 2. In this panel, we will be representing social media, banking and operations, strategic communication, and credit. So I'm going to ask all the speakers to say a little bit about themselves, but for those who are just tuning in, I'm Dr. Joan Henry Fields, and my company is Out in the Fields LLC, real estate consulting firm, and I will be sharing that information later on. I also have a nonprofit organization, RESA Incorporated, where we connect women and girls to an array of services, domestic violence services, homelessness services, and all other needed services, right? So let's jump right into it. And we're going to start off with Mr. Bert Oliver. And so for everyone, I will ask you to share your name, your company name, your product or service, and your website information. We want to get all that out the way so that folks can connect with you after your great delivery. So we're going to kick things off with Mr. Bert Oliver, who is representing social media. Hello, Mr. Bert. Unmute your mic and talk to my people. Tell them the name of your company.
Jamaican Joan.
Hi.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for doing such a great job. So great that you've done it for over 12 years. So looking forward to the next, forget about next 12 years, the next 50 years. My name is Bert Oliva. I've been doing professional speaking all over the world in 2 languages, Spanish and English, on human behavior and leadership. And we have a module that we've been doing for quite some time now that has to do with mastering your business online, how to be able to connect with human beings on a virtual platform. And to find me is pretty simple. I've been doing this for a long time. Just Google the name Bert Oliva, BERTOLIVA, or find me on your preferred social media.
Okay, awesome. So now let's go to Miss Jacqueline Bowles.
Good morning, and yes, Miss Jamaican Joan, thank you so much. I am Jackie Bowles, Senior Vice President, Director of Retail Banking for Industrial Bank. As many of you are aware, Industrial Bank is an African-American third-generation owned community bank. And we have had the pleasure of partnering with Joan and the Women's Expo for about 7 or 8 years now. So we have just been a solid partner. We see the value in partnerships, and we are a bank that offers full services to businesses and to consumers. So thank you so much for having me here.
Okay, awesome. Miss Keisha Brewer.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Jamaican Joan, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So myself, I am the CEO and co-founder of the PR Alliance LLC, which is an entertainment and lifestyle full-service public relations agency. And we've been in business, myself and Mariah, who was actually on panel 1, have been in business for about 5 years, but we have been separately doing a lot of work in communications. My background personally has been with Fortune 500s, government agencies, freelancing, and just ultimately helping companies and individuals communicate their value through strategic communication. So I'm excited to be talking about all of that today. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, our website. Everything is the PR Alliance. So I hope to connect with everyone.
Awesome. Mr. Leroy McKenzie Jr.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Leroy McKenzie Jr., the Impact Builder. I am the president and CEO of J&F Enterprises. We are a business consulting and book publishing consulting firm located here in Baltimore, Maryland. What we offer is the ability for individuals as well as organizations to be able to bring their vision to reality through their business ventures, as well as through books in addition. And we also look to do marketing and branding for those individuals and organizations as well. So, Joan, I'm happy to be here. My website is www.jnfenterprises.com. And I meant to say at the beginning, that's Dr. Joan Henry Fields. I want to put that speck on that name. You earned that, lady. Congratulations on it.
Thank you. And so, viewers, I thank you for watching live, and I thank in advance those who will be watching the replay. As with this segment, all segments will be done independently. So if you want to go back and look at a segment with a particular industry, you wouldn't have to watch an entire stream for 8 hours. So that's why I take these breaks in between, so we can log in again. And please hit the share button on your device so you can share this amazing information with your network. So to kick things off with the question, Mr. Oliva, what is the importance of developing a social media strategy?
It's extremely important, especially in what is that we're going through in our world right now. It's really like an extension of your current business. It's not going to be the norm. You know, the old norm doesn't exist anymore. Now there's going to be the new norm, which means that you should have not only your brick and mortar and being able to do like live events. For example, for me, I've been doing live events for over 27 years all over the world. So I was traveling 3 weeks out of the month in some sort of, convention or a self-help group or whatever the case was. Now you're able to actually go to 5 or 6 places around the world on a virtual platform. So it's really important to get your message out there, right? Your message has to go out there, and people need to realize that there's no better time than now. Stop comparing yourself to all these influencers or so-called influencers and say, well, they're doing it. No, you have to figure out you, the best you. There's over 7 billion people in this world, and there's a huge amount of people looking for Jacqueline, Carisha, and Leroy, because he's your boy. So they're not going to find you if you're not out there. And people are like, let me get the right camera equipment. Let me get this is the time. Whatever camera, even if you have an iPhone or a Samsung phone, this is the time for you to put your presence online.
Okay, we kind of something cut out from the last thing that you said, but I'm sure you will make up for that in your next question in your time. So, Jacqueline, how has Industrial Bank supported the unique needs of small local businesses in the community?
Yes. So this is our mission. This is what we were designed, and this is what we were born to do for the last 86 years. And so particularly during this time of uncertainty, Industrial Bank distributed over $30 million to small businesses via the PPP program. As you all know, as an African-American owned bank, 99% of our portfolio of business owners look like us. They're Latino Americans, Hispanic Americans, and African Americans. And so we had a direct impact on the local businesses. We also partnered with DC government, and we provided in excess of $2.8 million. And then I had the opportunity of working with an organization, nonprofit organization, NCIF. And so we were able to pretty much target 5 small businesses that had a lot of impact in the community in alignment with our mission, and we provided them funds as well. And so we did a variety of different programs and participated with a lot of organizations in order to be able to provide some relief and some guidance and some support during these uncertain times. In addition, seminars. So information is power. And so we provided free seminars, partnerships We actually just launched a new partnership with Capital Direct that is able to reach a segment of the population that a lot of traditional banks can't. And those are brand new emerging businesses. And so now we're able to discuss and provide financing to businesses as young as 6 months. So we've done a variety of things, just really streamlined our focus during this time for small businesses.
Okay, awesome. So Keisha, what are 4 major components of communication strategy?
Yeah, and I really like this question simply because when you talk about a communication strategy, or when we talk about communication specifically, we're talking about a lot of things, right? Public relations is communications, marketing is communications, advertising is communications, social media is communications, right? And so all of those things obviously have their individual strategies based on what we're looking to accomplish. With public relations, it's more so the media, right? And so it's a lot of different components when it comes to drilling in on specific communication strategies. But I would say overall, there are some key components that all of them must have. Number one, you must be able to address your target audience, right? Who are your target audiences? There can be more than one, but who are they? And when we talk about target audiences, we're really talking about what they want to see? What do they want to hear from you? How do they think? What do they feel on certain topics, right? When you talk about target audiences, you're really talking about getting to know the people that you want to tap into, your customers. So you really have to know their demographics and their psychographics too, right? So there's a lot of components to that. Your messaging. So you want to make sure that your messaging is clear, concise, and compelling. Those are the 3 C's that I always recommend. So when you're in your communication strategy, you should always be thinking about those 3 C's. And most importantly, is that message something that my target audience, going back to that target audience, wants to hear? Is this valuable for them, right? So that's 2 things, target audience and messaging. Another thing I would say are your channels, right? So I'm communicating this message to these people, but where am I communicating that at, right? And when it comes to where to communicate, you're really thinking about, where is my target audience? All of this is target audience focused, right? So when you're thinking about your channels, where are my target audience? Are they driving in their cars most often? So I need to get my message through radio, right? So that's a PR activation. Or are they on social media a lot because this is maybe Gen Z or millennials, right, that need to hear this message? So should I be targeting my campaigns to social media? Or are we talking about those people who are in front of their computers a lot? So let's talk about email marketing, right? It's your channels that really help you get to your target audience. And then, I will say the last thing, if we can only pick 4, I will say the last thing is developing your goals so that you can get to those tactical plans, right? So when we talk about a strategy, we're really just talking about a roadmap to accomplish your goals. So in that communication strategy, that public relations strategy, the marketing strategy, you must say, hey, these are the 3-4 goals that we are going to accomplish, and what are our tactical action plans to get there? So I would say those are the 4 main things in a well-rounded communication strategy.
Okay, awesome. And viewers, if you're watching, if you're looking to start a business or to take your business to another level, you want to be taking notes during this panel, and every panel for that matter, because that's what we're bringing. Great information on how you can start or take your business to another level. So Mr. Leroy McKenzie Jr., what is credit score, and what are the credit score ranges?
I like that. I like that. What? And I see Miss Bowles smiling. I know she's smiling big time. But here's what your credit score is, and I'm gonna do kind of like a dual personality with the credit score, because you have your personal score, which is your FICO score, and then you have your business score, which is your Dunn's number, or your Dun and Bradstreet score. So you want to keep in mind both of those, because they're both important when it comes to your credit. And all they are, what your credit score is just showing those that you're looking to borrow from your credit worthiness. It tells them whether or not the ability that you have to be able to pay your bills back and pay back the investment that they're putting in you. That's what your credit score is. That's your FICO score and your Paydex or Dun and Bradstreet score. That's those 2. Now the credit range for the FICO score is between 300 to 850. 300 being the lowest, meaning you're the highest risk of not paying that loan back. they're gonna stay away from you. I know Miss Bowles like that. She don't want to see nothing in that range. And then 850 being, of course, your lowest risk, your excellent credit and everything. That's the FICO score. Then on the DNB or the Dun and Bradstreet side, it's from 1 to 100. 1 being the high risk and 100 being the lowest risk in those ranges. And they break the ranges down for you so that you know. For the FICO, between 300 and 579, it's poor. Fair credit is between 580 and 689. And then good score is between 670 and 739. And excellent is very good is 740 to 799. And then excellent is 800 to 850. Now, when it comes to the Dun and Brad, like I mentioned, it's the 1 to 100, but that 1 to 100 is broken down into high risk, moderate risk, and low risk. High risk being from 0 to 49 or 1 to 49, 50 to 79 is moderate risk, means you kind of teetering in that middle area where you got a little bit of work to do, but you're seen as a moderate risk. And then 80 to 100 is the low risk. That's actually the excellent credit, what they want to see, where they want to see you at. So those are the two different distinct credit scores, and then how they're actually broken down.
Okay, awesome. So, Mr. Oliva, what are some of the things that you should keep in mind when creating social media advertising campaign?
Let me make sure. Can you guys still hear me? Yeah, because I have a broadcasting system. So when you mute me, then I have to figure it out because I'm already muted. Anyways, I'm back here. First of all, Keisha, phenomenal job. I think she tied it in. If you're coming in at this precise moment, you need to watch the replay. You need to go back to Keisha's section when we're talking about basically, how to really hit your target market. So one of the few things I want to add, because we're talking more about social media, at least in my part, is where is your target market? Just because your preferred social media may be Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, that does not mean that that's where your target market is. So try to figure out where is your target market so you can market to that audience. The other thing is start creating a series. For example, I have a series called Motivational Moment, right? So I know that series is going to attract a certain market. I may have another one called Master Your Business Online. What is a series? Like a campaign. Like being able to do, look, this campaign is for this, like mini commercials without you selling. You see, you got to remember something. People are spending so much time trying to sell when they don't realize that if you give away free information, people will buy access to you. They see you more valuable than just that information you're putting out there. Because a lot of people are concerned, if I put it out there, then what am I going to sell? Don't worry about that. If the information is good enough, they're going to come after you and say, well, if you're giving away all this, what else do you have? The other thing is your bio link. That link that, some people say, click below, click above. Start using the term my bio link, because it's on all social media. So if you're talking about your latest book, you're talking about your latest program, or whatever the case is, your widget, it doesn't matter. You say, well, for more information, go to my bio link. So that way they can link there, and then they can, when you go there, there could be a bunch of different links that they can go to. For most social media like Instagram, they only allow you one. So what I recommend is download a free thing called Linktree.ee. Linktree.ee gives you like a drop-down menu where you can have more than one. And then that way, if you attach that link to all your social media, when you're doing a campaign, then that's the main campaign for the week or the month. You don't have to be changing those links. Just go into Linktree, change it one time, and it goes on to all the other ones. And then don't forget to respond to your audience. Comment. Engagement is king. Not the followers, not the vanity matrix, not like, oh my God, they got a lot of views for this because I did my Christmas tree. No, communicate, connect. Once you build a community, everything else is just gravy, So the whole thing is building real relationships on social media.
Okay, awesome. So, Jacqueline, what does economic empowerment look like for Industrial Bank?
So, if I could say it in a nutshell, it's the overall health of the community. And there are so many components to that. Number one is awareness. We have found that financial literacy is a void in our community. And so back in 2013, we created a full curriculum, everything from Banking 101, the importance of savings, paying yourself first, recognizing needs versus wants, understanding managing credit, retirement planning. That is huge, and really just not a focus where it should be. What else do we have? Oh, entrepreneurship. And so we realize that we can't be all things to all individuals. So we know how to leverage. And Mr. Olivia, you said the same thing. Relationships are critical. And so we reach out to our businesses. We reach out to nonprofit organizations. The faith-based community is a huge proponent of Industrial Bank, and we leverage the resources that they have as well. And so it's really about collective responsibility and cooperative economics. Wealth transfer. How do we create and generate wealth and transfer to the next generations? How do we leverage life insurance? And so it's really about bringing all of these things full circle and just giving a bear hug to our community and making sure that they have the information, the access, and the resources in order to help them to reach their financial goals. And when our community wins, we all win.
Awesome. So tell us, Keisha, why are strategic communications important for both seasoned and budding entrepreneurs?
Yeah, great question. Number one, because ultimately, I know, when people hear strategic communications, they start thinking like real high level corporate, like what is that, right? Like they get caught up in the term strategic, right? But really what this is saying is the specific way that you speak to your audience in order to achieve your business goals, right? So like if we were just to simplify it, it's literally the specific way that you speak to people in order to achieve goals. So when we think about it in this way, everybody needs it, right? Whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur or business owner, or whether you're just starting out, you haven't even launched your product yet. The thing is that as long as you have business goals and as long as you need customers or an audience in order to achieve them, you're going to need strategic communications, right? Because really the ultimate goal is to tap into your target audience, to get them to understand you and the value that you bring, and create a communications plan in order to create that roadmap, right? So I would say, as a seasoned entrepreneur, as a seasoned business owner, it's just as important for you. However, I just really want to hone in on those budding entrepreneurs because it's like 100% important for you, because there are a lot of people that may not even understand who you are and what you do yet, right? So if that is the fundamental layer right there, that's the first step, who you are and what you do. So you have to make sure that that level is very clear, very clean, very concise. And so, as you're starting off, I think for all budding entrepreneurs, a part of your business plan should be, how am I communicating? How am I creating language that is easy to understand for my audience so that it's easy for them to understand what I do and the value that I offer? So in a nutshell, it is so important for them both. But those budding entrepreneurs, guys, you got to get on it. You definitely have to get your communication strategy together.
Okay, awesome. Mr. Leroy, what are some of the ways in which credit impact small businesses' success?
Well, it impacts business success in a couple of different ways, and I'll just give you three. It gives you the ability to be able to purchase equipment, to be able to purchase additional supplies that you might need. It puts you in that position to be able to have that inventory that you might not easily have access to when you have good credit, when you have credit or a line of credit. That's number one. Number two, it gives you leverage when you're trying to take on additional contracts. If you're trying to work with the government, whether it's federal, city, state, on those levels, you must have a DUNS number, first of all, but then you also, too, want to have good standing. You want to be a business that's in good standing, and the way that you show good standing is by having that DUNS number or the Dun & Bradstreet number, in addition to being able to show your credit worthiness and showing your ability to be able to pay your bills. That's what they're going to look at. So it gives you that ability to be able to take on some of those an additional contract that you might not have been able to do if you didn't have the credit, because you can take on that contract because, oh, okay, I got this line of credit. I can get the supplies, or I can get the, you might even need additional labor to be able to cover to be able to take on that contract in the beginning. So if you don't have the credit, success, then you're not able to do what it is that you need to do to be able to gain those credits. So that's number two. And then number three, you have it shows your ability to be able to pay your debts, pay them on time, and that you are worthy of a bank, industrial bank, saying, hey, we want to lend you this money because we know that we're going to get a return on what it is that we're lending out to you, or that we're going to borrow to you. So those are just three quick things that I think that allow you to have business, or what credit will allow you to do to have business success and be able to grow your business, grow your brand in an incremental way. And you can also do, honestly, you could probably use it too to be able to do additional PR work. If you want to get your brand out there a little more, you can come and see you can come and see Bert, you can come and see Keisha, in order to be able to do those things, to be able to say, hey, I need to do some more marketing, I need to get my name out there more. And when you have that credit, you got that line of credit to be able to use, say, hey, I got a little bit of money, let me be able to use that to be able to bring more clients in, more customers in, and that'll assist you in being able to increase your bottom line too at the end of the day.
Okay, so before I move to the next two questions for each person, I'm just going to use the next 2 or 3 minutes just to do some quick advertisements, starting out with my real estate consulting firm that I referred to earlier. This is the flyer on ways how you can get in touch with Out in the Fields real estate consulting firm. These are the services, and there you have it. And of course, I would definitely have to advertise Miss The Unique Assistant Services, and these are the services that she provides, and she's great with everything that she does, and she's was very integral with helping with all things social media with this expo. She's a virtual assistant, so please check her out. And of course, we have the Taste the Flavor with Liz Goodwill. That's the information for all your wine needs. You can definitely check her out. She's going to be, as well as the other vendors, will be vending tonight during the after party of the 12th annual Women's Entrepreneur Expo. And we'll have more advertisement at the end of the broadcast. So, Mr. Oliva, how do you track the performance of your social media campaigns?
Well, let me tell you what most people are doing when it comes to that. Most people are focusing on their vanity matrix, which is basically the likes and the likes or the views that they're getting. And don't focus on that, because that's really not what's important. You need to look at the analytics. Like, for example, on Instagram, they have a thing called insights. You need to really look at the analytics to know exactly what's happening with what it is you're posting. The likes, and it could be, maybe you get a lot of likes because you put a picture of your furry dog and it's adorable, but that's not going to bring you business. And most people, the reason most people are online, at least entrepreneurs, is to earn more money. And they're not going to earn more money just getting likes and views. So they need to look at their analytics. That's really important. The other thing is, whenever they're posting, look at the analytics. The other thing is engagements. Are they getting engagements? Engagements are really important, because they're going to tell you what they're looking for. They're going to tell your audience is going to tell you, oh my God, this is good stuff. Can I learn more about that? And again, that's when I said in the previous question, was to make sure that you do answer those questions and create that relationship. The other thing is, the conversation. You build conversations. Look, at the end of the day, people buy from friends, right? And think about it. You were talking about real estate. Think about, I'll give you a quick story just to tell you how people buy from friends. Let's say you're selling real estate, your neighbor's selling real estate. At the end of the day, you're selling real estate. Your brother wants to buy a house. He's in a different state. His neighbor talks to him every day about real estate. You come home for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and you're like, oh, your brother tells you, I just purchased a new home. They're like, well, how come you didn't tell me anything? Because you're not letting them know. People will buy from friends. You need to let people know. Don't just go online and post pictures of you working out or pictures. You need to break it down. I call it the 33% rule. A little bit about your personal things that you do, a little bit about your hobbies, and a little bit about your business. Don't just take a ton of selfies. There's only so many times that people want to look at this gorgeous beard. At the end of the day, don't just put one thing. People need to know, right? People need to know. And by the way, one thing I want to do, I know it's a little tangent. I want to thank you for what you're doing here, because pretty much just with this panel alone, you can go ahead and get motivated with Bert. You can go ahead and get Keisha to go ahead and give you all the PR you need to get you out there. Then you can get your numbers up with your boy in order to get a loan from Jacqueline. It kind of rolls all together. But basically, that's it. Get rid of the vanity matrix and look at the analytics. Those numbers won't lie to you.
Okay, awesome. So, Ms. Jacqueline, so it's your turn. So why is it important to support smaller community banks?
It is very important to support the smaller community banks. Industrial Bank is a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution. And what that means is that we reinvest in excess of 60% of our assets back into the communities that we serve. And we've been doing that for decades now. And how does that show up? Well, that is our lending, right? So our small business lending, our residential lending, that is reinvesting back into it. The programs, we have first-time home ownership programs, because we realize that the purchase of that home is the first step to generating wealth. Remember, we all know grandma's house. We all know Big Ma's house, right? So we need to increase the amount of home ownership in our communities, yeah? We also are focusing on financial literacy, like I spoke of earlier today. We are able to normally provide very small and sponsorships to nonprofit organizations whose missions align with ours. And we partner with Bank on DC, and I have to really specify that relationship allows us to reach the unbanked and the underbanked. And unfortunately, in our community, there are millions that are still using non-traditional banking services, the liquor stores and check cashing places. And on average, they're spending upwards of $800 a year. And who wants to spend money to pay bills, right? But there's an element of trust. The relationship is not there, and the experience is not there. And so we are outreaching those communities to give them second chances. Oftentimes, we are accepting non-traditional IDs. And prior to COVID, our partnership has allowed us to go into DC jail every other Tuesday. I'd be inside, and we're working with incarcerated men that have been incarcerated. Many of you all are familiar with that work with Kim Kardashian, that have been incarcerated since their teenage years. They're in the 40s now, and they're coming home. And so we need to be able to give them opportunities and options and the knowledge in order to have a direct reciprocal effect on recidivism. And so those are some of the things. Industrial bank, community banks, they're more than just banking. They are out there on the grassroots, meeting people where they are, helping them to leverage the information and the tools and the resources to help them to reach higher ground. Very quickly, I also want to say one thing about community banks. We are able to modify the products and services that we offer in order to meet the needs and to mimic the behaviors that we are trying to foster in the community. And just to give you a very quick example, one is we have a Steady Saver CD. We want our community members to save money. I don't care what day it is. I don't care what we're going through. Find some money to save. And so we teach that. But we also have a CD that allows you to open with a much lower balance. Most CDs, you have to put in $1,000 or $2,000, right? You can start this CD with $500. For our Justice Exposed, it's $250. And it's an 18-month term, but we realize that life happens. And so we allow you 2 penalty-free withdrawals during that period. But the best thing about it is that we allow anytime deposits. So whether you get paid weekly, bi-monthly, you can make a deposit, $5, $10. We don't care what it is. We just want to get into the habit of savings. And that's just one small example. I have to say, because we have entrepreneurs here, we have the emerging business relationships. So if your business is 5 years or younger, you are able to come and bank with us for 1 year. You don't have to worry about fees. No minimum balance, no monthly maintenance fees. We just encourage you to have that ongoing dialogue, create that relationship with your manager so that when that year transitions, we are confident that you have leveraged all the resources that we have available to you. But yeah, it's about relationships. It's about flexibility. It's about the deep commitment to the community. And again, when our communities win and when our small businesses thrive, and we are very focused, maniacally focused on supporting small businesses, not only for the lending and the account, the account piece, but our president, B. Joel Mitchell, encourages all of his employees to seek out minority-owned businesses and patronize those businesses so that they can grow, have the adverse effect of unemployment and so many of the other ills of society that we have to deal with and hear about every single day. So that's why community banks.
Okay, awesome. So Keisha, as I look at the question I have for you, it reminds me of my grandmother that would often say, we can all sing at the same time, but we can't all talk at the same time. So my question for you, how important is listening in communication?
Yes, and it's funny because when you ask that question, I think of when people say you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. So similar, my answer is kind of feeding off of that. But I will say, listening is the rise and fall of any communications strategy, right? Because you win or lose based on just how well you've listened. And when I say listening to who, right? Listening to your audience. I just talked about the communication strategy and what you need in order to develop one. Well, the target audience is the key component of it, right? And you're developing your messaging based off of what the target audience wants to hear or finds valuable, right? So if you don't listen to what they want to hear and what they find valuable, well, what is your communication strategy based off of? Is it based off of what you think you want to share? Or is it based off of what you know you need to share because of what they want to hear? And so that is literally the rise and fall of it. And, there are many ways to listen, but I love that Bert mentioned your analytics because that's one way to listen, right? And so when we talk about, listening to your target audience, they're already telling you certain things without some of us really even realizing it. So on your social media, the things that they engage with or share the most or, view the most, etc., like Bert was saying, is based in your insights and your analytics. And that's how you can listen to them. Oh, they really like when I share tips about X, Y, and Z. So that's how I know in my communication strategy, I need to build out how I can provide more tips and more value, right? And so that's one way to listen. Another way to listen is through surveys. I think some people try to play a guessing game on what their audience likes. Sometimes you just need to ask, right? And a lot of ways to ask is like through email marketing, right? You can put a poll and say, hey, I'm going to be launching X, Y, and Z. Which product offering would work best for you, right? Sometimes we just need to ask instead of guessing because that's going to make sure that you're going in the right direction and your audience wants to tell you. I promise you, they want to tell you. And another way to listen is to just look at what they're doing without them even saying anything to you. When you talk about your target audience, go to their pages, see what they're already interacting with, what they're already doing on a daily basis. If majority of your audience is saying, I don't have no money, I'm broke, I'm this, that, and the third. Well, maybe you should say, okay, these are some tips on how you can utilize my services at discounted rate. Maybe it's not a discount, or maybe it's a free offering, or maybe it's a whatever it is. It's you listening to what they're already sharing. If they're people who are working out a lot, right, or they seem busy, well, your service offerings needs to make sure it is direct to those who are busy. Is this an ebook that they can grab and go on, while they're walking, or while they're in the park, or while they're at work, they can just pull it up. It's just really just listening to what your target audience wants so that you can build out that communication strategy. So thank you, Bert, for bringing up the analytics, because that is a key way on how I listen to my audience as well.
Okay, awesome. So Leroy, what are 4 credit tips that you would like to share with budding entrepreneurs?
Man, this is some good stuff right here, yo. I can't take my notes, so I'm gonna have to go to the replay. I'm gonna have to go to the replay for all of this. This is just gold for those that are listening and watching and will watch the replay. Please, like Bert said, go back and you need to watch this replay because y'all are getting some, just some phenomenal information here. But here's my tips. And Jacqueline, you had me doing backflips with what you were saying about the financial, about the wealth building, the legacy building, and wealth creation, because that's key. And you have to have that mindset when it comes to your money. when it comes to your credit. You have to think of it like Keisha said, you have to have a plan. Just like you got to have a plan for your branding and marketing, you have to have a plan for your credit. We know that 2020 has been just a tough year. So there may be some that are in some financial situations where they have to, they're going to have to repair their credit. So you have to have a strategic plan in order to be able to do that. So here's a couple of things that you can do when it comes to thinking about your credit. One, like I said, have the mindset of wealth creation, legacy building, and your financial credit. Looking at your credit as financial credit and your financial standing. So you want to have that mindset going into it first, so that you always have a plan for what you want to do with not only in your business, but also in your personal life too. The strategies kind of go and align with each other. Number two, you want to review your credit annually, on an annual basis, to make sure that nothing's on there that shouldn't be on there. If there are any corrections that need to be made, you can seek out to be able to do and make those corrections. So that's number two. Number three, you want to dispute any incorrect information that's on your credit. That's kind of why you do the review, so that you can see what things need to be disputed on there. And there's a strategic way to be able to dispute those things that need to come off of your credit that aren't on there, because things happen. I've had it happen to me personally, and I'm sure there are others that are probably watching, or maybe even on this panel, that has had that on. It's like, how you get on there? And I'll just give you one real quick example. I'm a junior, Leroy McKenzie Jr. My father was Leroy McKenzie Sr. And one time there was something on there that belonged to him that was on my credit for some reason. I don't know how I got there, but it was on there. So you have to watch out for those kind of things that can pop up on your credit. So you want to make sure that you do that. The next thing, the third thing, is budget paying off or paying more on those higher interest interest bills that you have. Pay those off first. It's a strategic way of being able to take care of that highest interest rate bill first. That way you're working your way down to the lowest one. Some people do it opposite. It's kind of, you have to do what's best for you. And that's how if you talk with a financial planner, and even if you talk with your banker, they may talk to you about that too, or put a plan together for you as well. So you want to do that. That way you have a plan in place for how you're going to be able to get rid of the debt or pay the debt off that you have. The next one is if you're able to, you want to ask for increased limits to the credit that you already have, whether it's a line of credit that you've already established, or whether it's a credit card that you might have that you can increase your limit on it, because what that does is that can give you a higher credit score. So if you're able to do those things, it'll make your credit look better when you come in to see Miss Jacqueline. She'll be like, "Ooh, I like those numbers." And that's the last thing, is know your numbers. Know your numbers, know your score. Understand what your score is, whether it's on the business side of it, your Dun & Bradstreet number, or whether it's on the FICO side, understanding your FICO score. And I'll add this little nugget, is you want to have relationships, develop relationships with your banker. I'm going to say that again, develop relationships with your banker. Your banker can be your best friend. I'm telling you, they will sit down and have those conversations with you to tell you or let you know kind of things that are coming on. When Jacqueline talked about that PPE, the PPE that was down, a lot of us didn't qualify for it. Why? Because we didn't understand what the requirements were. If you have that relationship with your banker, they can let you know, hey, these are the things that you need to work on, or these are the things that I need you to bring me, or that we can do so that we can get you qualified for that loan that's out there. Don't leave money on the table, and your banker will assist you in being able to not leave money on the table. And even on the other side, develop your relationships with your PR person. Bert and Keisha, they are key people. They're the ones that put you out there. Put that in, make sure that your image that you put out there is key, because if your image is together, then you're able to gain more clients. What does more clients mean? That means increasing your bottom line. What does that mean? You can increase your line of credit that you have. So all of it ties in to your credit, ties into all of these things that we're talking about today. So those would be just a couple of tips that I would say that I would leave with them when it comes to your credit.
Okay, awesome. So we're in the final stretch of the questions now. So, Mr. Oliver, what advice would you give to a seasoned and budding entrepreneurs about the use of social media platform during this pandemic?
Um, I'm going to be really honest with you. I am so in love with the panel you've created here. Everyone here is dropping bombs. I'm talking about there. I mean, this. I'm telling you this. When you guys do your homework, I've been doing this for over 27 years all over the world, and this panel here that you've put together is second to none. The information is so valuable. And if you guys, in fact, I would not only do the replay, I would probably find a way to save it because there's so much information on this channel. It's great. You know, how to earn money, how to save money, how to invest in yourself, the PR. Like, I mean, can't believe that Keisha's only been doing it for 5 years. Jamaican Joan, you're really doing a great service to the people, you know, not only with this panel, but with the whole thing that you've done. So I just wanted to bring that up since pretty much this is our closing statement, right? So a couple of things I want to bring up. Number one, I talked about the 33% rule. So I'm going to see if this works over here. If you guys can see the screen, this is what it meant. To do at least some post that has to do personal. Personal is your lifestyle. Here, let me see if I can pop in so that way you don't feel like I'm not watching. Oh, no, you can't because of the screen that we have. Anyways, 33%. Personal is lifestyle. Make sure that you do a little bit of personal. Remember, you control it, so you don't have to give everything out, but people want to know a little bit about you. People love the behind the scenes. Business. Make sure that people know what it is you do. The reason they're not buying from you, they have no idea. They have no idea that Jamaican Joan, she does events. She does more than that. And you need to let them know. That's why I love the commercials that you've been putting in between. It's important. Let them know you do real estate. It's okay. Because it's not that Jamaican Joan, I'm using her as an example, it's not that she's the master of all. No, she has teams that she works with. She has different companies. That's what you got to realize. Especially now, if people don't know what you do, they're not going to buy from you. They're going to buy from your competitor, and then you're going to feel bad because they have no idea. Then your hobbies. People want to know, what do you do for fun? Do you ride motorcycles? Do you do, because that might be the reason why they start following you. Does that make sense? So I wanted to show the 33%. The other thing is choose one platform as your preferred platform, and then repurpose your content on all the other platforms. What that means is that a lot of times I want to be a social media influencer. So let me go ahead and post everywhere. You're diluted. You have to be consistent. You got to make sure that, you know what, I'm going to focus on Instagram. I'm going to become an Instagram influencer. For example, I'm going to repurpose my content for those people that don't have the deep pockets and don't have a social media team. I get it. You know, you're a one-man team. That's okay. Just repurpose your content because that other platform has not seen it yet. So at the end of the day, instead of trying to create all these social media campaigns, just reuse what you're doing. Think about how many times you've seen the same commercial over and over again before you purchase the product. You know, sometimes they have to see it 2 or 3 times, like this feed. They need to see it 2 or 3 times. So the other thing, and then final, I'm going to go ahead and tie in real close because I want to leave you guys with this message. Really important. You have greatness inside of you. The only person that's holding you back is you, not your significant other, not your family member. It's you. Do not allow other people's opinion of you become your reality. Go out there and make it happen. Go out there and live the dream that you desire and deserve, the dream that God wanted you to have. And once you do that, everything else you won't be complaining about. It will all come together. So with that being said, my name is Bert Oliva. Cuban born, American made. And thank you guys, every single one of you in the panel. Thank you, Joan, for this opportunity. And I'm really happy to be here. So I just wanted to make sure I get that out.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So Jackie, closing final question. When considering the next stages of growth access to capital, okay, let me look at, I got to figure out what I wrote. When considering the next stages of growth / access to capital, what should business owners be aware of?
Sure. So I'm going to be very honest. I am not a commercial lender, so I did reach out to one of my peers. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips that Willie Blaylock gave me, but then I want to add a couple of closing remarks. So number one, he says you really have to be aware of your current market conditions. What's going on in your market? What's going on with the people like Keisha has advised you that you've targeted? What are their current conditions? What are your competitors doing? How are they surviving? How are they navigating through? This anticipated growth that you've planned for, how will you finance it? Do you have reserves available? Will you need to come to the bank? Is your credit intact? So how are you going to finance this growth? If you have a plan in place to pay it back and your growth projections are not what they were, right? You're not making as much money as you thought you would. What is your plan B? So you always have to have a plan B if for some reason you come in short of what your projections were. What additional products and services will you need to ramp up your staff? Do you need to purchase more equipment in order to handle the growth that you're expecting to experience? And again, it comes back to, is your credit strong enough so that you'll be able to finance those things? Okay. So if you're using outside vendors, let's just say you're relying on another organization or another vendor to provide something for you so that you can deliver your final product, what if they have an interruption in business? What if they have something that goes on with them? How are you going to navigate through that hiccup and continue to be able to deliver to your consumers the service or the product that they're expecting? And then last but not least, make sure that you have your A-team in place. Right? You need to have your attorney. You need to have your accountant. You need to have your social media, your business consultant, your banker. So create those relationships early. And I will tell you, and I'm sure that Mr. McKenzie will agree with me, it's best to ask for a loan when you really don't need it, because when it comes time that you're really in a dire situation and you need it, oftentimes it's a little too late because you've got some work to do. So be ahead of the 8 ball, communicate effectively, engage your team so that when the need arises, you're already positioned. They already have an understanding. And that's another benefit of banking with a community bank. You're more than just a number. You are more than just your credit score. Does it count? Absolutely. But you get to sit down with your banker who's making a local lending decision and talk to them about, why did you come in short here? Or why did you have a hiccup here? And as long as it makes sense to them, they have the ability to make exceptions. Sometimes, I'm not saying everybody, but they have the ability to escalate things and to make exceptions. So I say that to say relationships with your community banker are invaluable. Engage them early. Let them take the ride with you. Let them help you to, figure out what your next steps are and what they should be. They will pull in some resources and support for you because they're not all things to everyone, but that's going to be critical. If I could just have one thing that I would ask for during this time. We are all working differently right now, right? And for most of us, we're spending more time with our families. And so we have to now use this moment in time to engage our families, have different conversations. I don't understand why in the minority community, we don't like to talk finances, right? Well, guess what? I have one son. He's 19. He knows what the mortgage is. He knows what the car payments are. He knows what the insurance is. I still use a journal. If I can just pull it out, a journal. I'm a banker, but I still do old school. So all my bills are written down each month. And we go through this together with a calculator. So before he asked me, Mommy, has everything been paid? And did we put some money in the savings account? And now I can ask you, can we afford this? And so I think it's now time for us to come together, educate our children. At the bank, we see so many people with degrees, right? But we run a credit check. So Mr. McKenzie, they may be qualified, but they can't meet the credit score. So they're unemployable because oftentimes jobs will pull your credit. And so I just say we have to educate our children because financial literacy is not integrated into the school curriculums the way that it should be. It's our responsibility. Our young men are going to be heads of households. Our young women are going to be heads of households, and we need to prepare them. So let's utilize this time to engage them, to have a different conversation and do different things. And let's model the behavior. Instead of going out and door dashing and all these other things, cook. And now it's time to make, we had a great presentation with the Rasta pasta. I'm sure you can freeze some of that for a couple of days and a big pot of stew or a big pot of spaghetti. Now, the thing is, when you practice these money saving strategies, don't spend the money. Don't just put it from one pocket to the other. Because like Grandma said, that money's burning a hole in your pocket. Put it in a savings account. One other thing, have a 3-day cool-off period. Amazon, I'm sure I'm not the only one. And so when we need to scale that back a little bit, right? And if you see something online that you really want, before you just hit add it to my cart and spend it, wait. We have the discipline and the fortitude to wait 3 days and say, is this a need? Is this a want? And if you decide that you really need it and you can afford it, then fine. But if you decide otherwise, take whatever it is. I don't care if it's $59.99. Take it out of your bank account because you thought you could initially and put it in a savings account that thou shall not touch. So we have to identify ways to save money, but save it. Don't spend it. So just engage your family, be safe. Dr. Joan, you are a phenomenal woman, a queen. I honor you, and I'm so happy. I'm going to reach out to each of you because I have been taking arduous notes today. And so I just want to say thank you. And Industrial Bank has been here for 86 years, and we will continue to be here. Just give us a call. Industrial-bank.com is our website.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Great. So, Keisha, take us on home with what are 4 key steps to building strategic communication capability?
Yes. So when we're talking about strategic communications capabilities, we're talking about something a little different than the strategy. So the capabilities is actually what you need in order to make the strategy work for your company or your business, right? And so just a few things that, I mean, depending on, and this is why communications capabilities and strategies are very tailored to the business itself, because depending on what the business is, we might need different capabilities, but I'm just going to give some general ones. So one, a foundation for your company's communication strategy to lean on. So that foundation looks like a clear mission, vision, and goals. Right. And so we can't jump into a communications plan or a communication strategy without us seeing the future. We have to have that vision because the communications plan is always leading us somewhere. It's leading us to a roadmap that we have to figure out how to get there. So you have to have a clear mission, vision, and goals. I would say another thing are mapping tools. So like we talked about in your strategy, we have to make sure that when we're creating these plans and these roadmaps for our business, we have the tools to be able to sustain it, right? So we know that if one of our strategies is to be able to find better channels, and I'm going to talk about this later in the capabilities, but to be able to find better channels, what are the tools that we need in order to find those channels, right? So we need to make sure that we have proper tools. Processes, which is my favorite one, right? When it comes to communications plans and communication strategies, you know, we create these robust strategies and they're amazing and we think we can carry them out until we realize we get in front of our audience. And once they start coming in, we flop. And I've seen it happen in a lot of businesses. You bring in that attention, they get eyes on you, and then you don't know how to handle it, right? Because we need to understand that everything that is implemented behind the scenes must be tidied up. So when I talk about processes, I'm talking about your sales funnels. So once your audience comes to you, then what? How do we create the sale? How do we get in and learn about you and then ultimately pay you to do what you need to do? When I talk about processes, I'm also talking about things like communications calendars, right? So we're saying we're going to communicate X, Y, and Z on these platforms to our audience. How often? Okay, because when we talk about these communications calendars, the biggest thing is to keep us consistent. Because we can communicate something one time, and like Bert said, people need to see it multiple times. And if they don't, well, they're going to go to your competitor. So how do we get these processes behind the scenes to be able to sustain that communications plan that you created? And then communications channels. Okay, so, you know, outside of what I said in the strategy on, you know, make sure you understand what channels you're supposed to be on. Is it email marketing? Is it social media, etc.? Okay, we need to have the channels to begin with, right? So we can't create a communication strategy and we're talking about multiple channels. Well, how did you put together your email marketing strategy? Was it on Constant Contact? Was it on MailChimp? You know, when we talk about social media, is there 0 people on your social media? Do you know how you're going to have graphics yet, right? Like when we say we have to be on these channels, well, we have to create the channels first. Right. So this is what I mean by your capabilities is literally the engine to get your strategy to move. So that's another thing, the communications channels. And then my biggest thing, which I think, you know, Jacqueline even talked about when it comes to the banking and that side, is the team, right? You need a great team to be able to live out these strategies. And you have to really look and see, because I know a lot of us entrepreneurs, we try to do everything on our own. And we're like, we can be the social media manager, and we can also be the banker, and we can also be the accountant, and we try to be everything. And, you know, I'm not saying you can't, but I'm saying it's not the best use of your time. If there are experts that are able to dive into those things, let them do it, right? Figure out what you can realistically handle and are the best fit for. Do those and figure out where the voids are otherwise, right? So I know with a lot of my clients, they're like, hey, I don't know how to get myself out there, but I guess what I can do. I can get my financials together. I can get my accounting together, X, Y, and Z. So they hire me to get the exposure. They do the groundwork. I do the exposure, and they could do it themselves. Listen, public relations, social media, those are things that you can technically do yourself if you really, you know, put in the work and the research to do it. However, it's not the best use of your time. So you need to be able to build a team who are experts and have the time and the needs and the wants to do and fill those voids for you. So I would say those are, the capabilities of communications.
Okay, so close it out for us, Leroy. What is the difference between Duns and Bradstreet scores and FICO scores? So what are the difference between those?
Well, here let's start with I'll start with the definition of what your FICO is and what your DUNS actually is. FICO came from the Fair Isaac Corporation. That's what FICO stands for, the Fair Isaac Corporation. That's where that comes from. And your DUNS is nothing more than the Data Universal Numbering System. That's what that is. That's your DUNS number. Those are the two. Now, they represent the same thing, but in two different lanes in your life. One is for your personal, that's the FICO. And then one is your business, which is your DUNS number. They're two separate entities. They don't talk to each other. They don't deal with each other. They actually are two separate entities in everything that they do. They don't even cross-reference who they report to. Your FICO, which is the three credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Those are the three for your FICO. That's who anybody that you pay from, let's say, whatever credit card that you might have, Visa, MasterCard, to any other credit cards that you might have, they report to, or your mortgage, all of those things, they report to those three credit bureaus. Where your DUNS number, that's actually your DNB number, that's actually where businesses report. That's like if you're doing business to business, they can report to your to the Dun & Bradstreet. Now, not all businesses report to have a Dun & Bradstreet number. But as I mentioned before, if you're going to do government contracts and some of those like that, you will need a Dun & Bradstreet number. So that's the difference. The major difference is in who they report to, and then how they report their numbers. Now, I'll just give you a quick example of what the FICO is broken into. And this was probably the most people may know it, but I'm going to give it to them anyway so that they do know that your credit score is broken up into percentages. Your payment history is 35%. 35% of your FICO score. Your total amount owed is another 30% of your score. The length of credit history is 15%. Your types of credit, 10%. And then your new credit is 10%. So FICO breaks your credit into those different percentages. Dun & Bradstreet, where you have the businesses that report to, they'll report how you pay your business, how you pay your debt to them. They report that to it. And if they don't, you want to, just a quick tip on that end, you want to make sure that those companies that deal with Dun & Bradstreet, you want to make sure that they're reporting, especially if you're doing a good job of paying them. If you're not doing, if you're on the other end, like other certain people, you might not want them to report short. But if you're paying your business bills, you're paying them on time, your vendors on time, you want to make sure, say, hey, can you do me a quick, do you report to the Dun & Bradstreet, and you want to have them report your good standing to Dun & Bradstreet, so that when you go to get those additional contracts or other types of things that you may need in order to be able to gain more clients and contracts and credit, then they have something to base it off of. So those are the quick distinct differences between the two credits. They do the same thing, but they do it for different from different perspectives. One, like I said, your FICO score, and then also your Dun & Brad's, or which is called your Paydex score. That's what they call that on the Dun & Bradstreet side. So that's the distinct difference between the two. They in no way touch each other, but they do impact you on a from a credit perspective. So you always want to keep that in mind when it comes to your business. You want to have, just like he said, you want to have a plan. You've got to have a strategic plan. That works in your credit life, in your credit realm, because if your credit isn't healthy, and I talk in terms of, is your credit healthy, making sure that your credit is healthy, you can do a lot more. You can bring Keisha in to handle all of the other things of putting you out there, making sure that you look good and everything like that. And then you can have Jacqueline, who'll say, hey, yeah, we got some money for you. Here, what you need, how much you want, how much you need. They can do that on that end too, but they can only do it if your credit is in order, if your credit is healthy. So you want to really think in those terms. And something that Jacqueline mentioned really quickly too is we need to have these conversations with the next generation. Whether it's in your family or whether it's someone that you're mentoring, that you should have someone that you're mentoring either way, whether it's your family or whether it's someone in business, either way, that you can learn from. And for those that are aspiring entrepreneurs, connect with someone who is where you're trying to get to. That is so important, because they can show you those things that you need to do, and you can avoid bumping your head against certain walls, because they've already gone through it. They can give you those tips. They can give you those little nuances to be able to avoid when you're going through this journey of entrepreneurship, because it's key. It's really key. So those would be the distinct differences that I would say. And I'll end it in my portion by saying this is network plus resources equals network plus resources equal, what did I say? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just forgot it that quick. But your network plus your relationships, I'm sorry, that's what it is. Your network plus your relationships equals resources. Relationships equal resources. Trust me, when you have the connections, you can maneuver and you can get things done that you need to get done, or even someone that comes to you to be able to get it done. You might not be the person that can do it, but you have the resources to be able to get it done. So, Joan, again, thank you for doing this. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. This panel has been phenomenal. Even earlier, this whole event has just been phenomenal. It's something that I've told you is always been needed. 12 years strong, and I'm loving it. So thank you very much.
Okay, awesome. And thank you guys thank you panel number 2. And if you're watching, or if you're just tuning in, you missed panel 1. You also miss a live cooking demo. So go back to my page, and this is why I break everything up into pieces, so that you wouldn't have to watch an entire 8 hours just to hear the goodies from your favorite person. So everything is done in sections. So go back and look at panel 1. Go back and look at the cooking demo. If you're watching the replay, then you're already watching panel 3. Thank you for tuning in, whether it's live or replay. We have 2 more panels for the remainder of the day. But before the other 2 panels, we have Dr. Shirley Lou coming up at 1:15. She was supposed to be on already, but we are running late. But see, it's not a matter of rushing through stuff. I'm trying to deliver quality, even if it means pushing things back a little bit. And I'm so happy for my speakers who are working with me, because certain things you just can't rush through. There are certain things that you got to take your time with it, because it's quality information, it's needed information, and we just got to get it done right. So yes, Dr. Shirley Lou is going to be on a little bit later, like about 1:15. But trust me, every word that you have to say for the remainder of the panels, you're going to get it in. We do have panel 3 coming up. Obviously, that's not going to be at 1:15, and we have the cooking. We have panel 4 coming up later. So yeah, so we have the keynote speaker, Dr. Ruben West, who's coming on at 4. So keep it locked and continue to watch, continue to tune in. I'm going to log out for now so that I could do a change of jewelry. If y'all notice, every panel I got to change my jewelry, right? So I'm going to take care of that now. So I have been your host, Jamaican Joan. And until next time, you take care and make this $1 million day. See you at 1:15.